Good morning, and welcome to, I think, our fifth edition now of Talking to Artists. My house is air conditioned, but it is extraordinarily hot everywhere I go, so I'm trying for a little bit of cool outside by the pool, so hoping that will be nice. Today, I'm very excited to talk to Marjolyn Hart, who is a collage artist, so something very different from what I do, so I'm really interested in not only her process, but also just in about her kind of thinking behind it and how this whole coronavirus great pause has kind of changed her thinking. So, oh, sorry, I have to put my hair up. It's really hot. Hopefully all you guys are doing well, and thank you so much for kind of continuing to come on and be part of this with me. So I'm just going to bring on Marjolyn, and of course, as soon as I go online, I've got somebody who wants to talk to me or phone me or something, which is kind of drag.
Hi.
Hey!
How are you?
How are you? Oh, hang on a second. I'm just going to put my earbuds in here.
Okay.
That's what I forgot to do. So I'm guessing there's a good chance that nobody heard anything I said so far, right?
Who knows? Who knows who's listening?
I know. So anyway, I did a welcome. Thank you so much. Looking forward to talking to Marjolyn. So you didn't miss much.
Good. That's good. Only good things said, I'm sure.
That's right. So well, thank you first of all, because if people don't know, Marjolyn is also on the Artist Network board, and we had our AGM last night, and was really great in tag teaming to be able to get all the communications and all the great things we've been doing to artists around across Canada. So thank you so much.
Yeah.
But
You've been huge in that. It's been amazing, your guidance and partner in crime and all that.
Thanks. Well, it's funny because I like to work with people like you that are just kind of like, this is what I want to do. Let's just go do it.
Yeah.
And the rest of the board is like, yeah, okay, sounds good.
Yeah, perfect partnership. I'm actually just trying to do volunteer something else, and they're really hesitant about me coming in there. I'm like, look, I can do it. I can do it. Just for
They're just afraid you're going to take over, right?
Oh, and I don't want to. I'm just like, hey, I have suggestions. You can take them or leave them, but you really need to take them.
Yeah, exactly. And trust me, can't tell you exactly how I'm going to do it yet, but I'm going to get it done, right? Yeah. I was talking to Lori Mirabelli last week, and that was kind of her thing too. She's like, sometimes people like us, you just commit to something, and after you've committed to it, publicly, of course, then it's like, oh my God, how am I actually going to deliver that?
Yes, right. Yes. Just wing it.
Yeah.
Wing it and pretend like you know what you do. You know what you're doing.
Absolutely. Well, that's how stuff gets done.
That's pretty well it, right? Yeah, I can do
it.
And you just put it out there, so.
Exactly. So tell me what you're working on today.
Today I am doing Facebook ad training, and I am presenting to an organization in Fort Myers. They're called Art Fest, and they have been doing a lot of education seminars for artists dealing with COVID. And so I reached out to them because I had launched this new course for digital marketing of art, and reached out to them and said, I'd like to do a webinar for your group of people. Okay, so going back to, I can do this. I had this moment of going, okay, I really need to review, although I know how to do it. I need to review because there's like a question that happens and you go, yeah, I don't know. So I need to know that. So that's my big thing today, trying to share with more artists. They usually have about 100 people show up at these Zoom calls, and share with them strategies on how to get your art out there and market your art out there. So.
Yeah, and Carolyn's asked, can we sign up for the Art Fest seminar today, or is that just for?
Yeah, it's open. If you just go into Art Fest, if you Google Art Fest Fort Myers, their website should come up, and then they do a whole announcement. It's at 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, so they have
that's cool
thing there.
Yeah, and I know you did sort of I think the first batch to try and work through some of it for the members at the Artist Network, which was amazing, and so timely since so many artists are really not loving the whole digital going online thing.
Yeah. That I did for Artist Network, which was fantastic, and then I did it for the Ontario Society of Artists as well.
Yeah, I saw one of those too. I caught that.
Yeah, so it's just constantly being put out there and hammering away. And I do think that the pieces that I put together.
I think I might have lost you a little bit. Yeah.
There we go. I think a lot of people have been activated by our seminars, and things have been really quite productive there. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
I think it's a little bit from drinking from the fire hose, though. Like if you haven't really done it before, to all of a sudden, I have to have a website, I have to do e-commerce, I've got to do all this stuff. So I think it is one of those things that's great to hear it multiple times. I know for myself,
Sure.
even areas that I think I'm okay, pretty savvy with, and it's like, oh my God, so not savvy. There's
Yeah.
so much stuff I can always learn.
Yeah, you start. I mean, this is all part of it. And that's why I put it all into this course, because I thought, okay, I'll just lay it out, and then people can work through their own, at their own pace, and can review it and rewind it and look at it again and look at it again. And then what I'm doing is adding in pieces as it goes along, because things change very periodically. It just changes so quickly. And I just
Yeah.
see it as a static product. I just see it evolving. So people who sign up, they'll have lessons that are added in there, especially in Facebook ad marketing, which is a constant changing kind of piece. So, yeah, it's
That's funny. Carolyn's just said, fake it till you make it. That's what they say in real estate. I think that's what they say in every industry.
that's right. If something happens, you're like, hey, you can do this.
As long as you're not doing something like day trading where the repercussions are pretty severe.
Yeah. So for sure, courses I priced really low. So they're totally accessible, and there's a payment plan. So it's a whole way of just trying to find it accessible. And it's a support structure too, right? It's someone that you can reach out to. A few people who have bought, I've had people reach out. So this isn't happening. How can I do this? And I'll help where I can. I mean, it's all part of, it's a core value. What I am is that just helping, as you have too, just helping others and helping artists. And if we all succeed, then we all benefit. As you say, rising tide floats all boats.
I think for me, that's just so apt. And I totally agree. Like, I do think that the more you help other people, the more other people kind of help back. But I think it's also about providing more exposure to the artist community in general, to collectors, and helping them understand how artists do their business and, what's involved, and eliminating enough of the mystique that it allows people to have a conversation with artists about sometimes moving into that first purchase of art, right?
Right, it is. It's all about the awareness of being in front and center of people. And I think with COVID, it's so easy to just retract. It takes a huge amount of energy for artists to step out. Art fairs are great because it forces people to say, okay, here, you need to step out. Gallery showings as well, right? You have a show, you have to get ready for that show, you're building a body of work, you're out there. So when all that fell apart, people are like, well, okay, so we don't have this fabricated deadline. What do we do? And that's where the real challenge is. And I can't say that I haven't suffered from that, especially recently, as far as, as the projects have kind of wound down. I'm like, so what, I have to create something. So I have a plan of doing a special outdoor virtual live event middle of September. And I'm going to do it around my house. I live East Toronto, and I'm going to hang paintings from the trees in the back and put up my booth in the front. I'm going to do also a virtual Zoom call, launching it the night before, and then do Facebook, Instagram lives through the event. And people can come, and I'll send out a mailing list to people who are local, and they can kind of wander through. And so then it's kind of a two-pronged kind of thing. I hope to capitalize and access people who I know in the U.S., my huge client list that's in the U.S., so they could still be part of it. And then I also was hoping to do a virtual tour, maybe, we rent Leslie Grove Gallery, so I was thinking of renting the gallery and doing one of those virtual tours, so that could be part of my website, so people who are online would see that, then they'd see it in the actual virtual event. So it's basically taking digital pieces and real life and placing it into one weekend, right?
Yeah, I want to touch on a couple things that you kind of mentioned, because I think there's a few pieces to it. One is the fact that a lot of artists by their very nature tend to be introverts. They love spending that time in the studio. One of the things I always hear is, I don't want to do the marketing, don't want to do the business, I just want to spend time in the studio. Yeah. And yet then when COVID happened and we are forced to spend time in the studio, we kind of realize it isn't just about being in the studio, it's being in the right mindset and having a choice to be in the studio. And now it's been forced. A lot of artists, and myself included, had a hard time kind of wrapping your head around the get your shit together, but also just having the right, being in the right motivational mindset to be able to produce art that's, my work and your work is not dark and heavy. It tends to be more about, let's bring memory, let's bring light, let's bring joy to people's lives,
Yeah.
which is hard to do when you're feeling kind of depressed
Yeah.
and stuck in your studio.
Yeah, like the dark, keeping the darkness at bay. And yeah, you have to find the little pockets of space where you go, okay, I'm going into this little box and this is where this work is coming from. So part of my work, part of my series or themes is empowerment, right? So there's a feminist undertone to it. So when Black Lives Matter happened, I had done civil rights images a couple of years ago, and had done a whole series about young Black girls who basically were the ones who burden was put upon them 1965 in Roe versus Brown, in Brown versus education, in order to go and desegregate schools, right? So for me, I was like, okay, young Black girls are taking all this stuff, and so I did this series. And so I thought, okay, I can revisit that and build into a series this summer of highlighting African American women, and I think that's going to be part of it. But it's really about trying to find the joy in it, and the empowerment and good parts of it, not like the whole struggle.
The negativity part of it. Yeah, like it's not about putting somebody down or putting some culture or groups down. It's about elevating, floating all boats, right? It's about elevating everybody so that everyone has the same rights and respect and expectation to live a healthy, happy life, right?
Yeah, and of course, I've also had thoughts about, well, who am I as a white woman, privileged woman, to create images of an African American culture that I really I'm not part of. I have very few Black friends, and I'm just like, okay, am I justified in doing that? And so it's like doing cowgirl images, which I do, and I live in Canada, and I do cowgirl images when I go and do shows in Texas. And when I first started doing that, they had guns, Annie Oakley, that kind of thing. I thought, okay, this is just not my culture.
Yeah. It starts to feel a little bit inauthentic when you try.
Right.
It's funny, as marketers too, I think you try and kind of, okay, I want to understand my target market. I want to know what they want. I want to produce for it. But it has to be within your own frame of what you're doing and what's authentic.
But then I did some research, and pioneer women and cowgirls were the first ones who developed property. They were the first ones who went really west and really built up the homesteading, and Texas women are amazing. Like, they're just this strong kind of entity. And so I actually thought, okay, I can do this feminist thing. It's an empowerment. It doesn't matter whether you're a cowgirl with a gun or whatever. You're still this female empowerment. So this is how I'm sliding into images about Josephine Baker or Harriet Tubman, right? It's this sense of, okay, let's elevate them based upon the feminist kind of philosophy. So it's been like COVID journey.
One of the things I'm fascinated with too is I know that you use often really vintage postcards or images and stuff from that time. And where do you find them, or how do you kind of get your hands on those, and how do you decide to use them?
So that's piece of my work grew from traveling so much. So I travel a lot in the US and do art fairs. And because I drive quite a bit, I take breaks, and I take breaks when I stop at antique malls. So
fun.
Right, in memory, I started going to these antique malls, and I thought, oh yeah, like Life magazines. And of course, I didn't really have a sense of what to use. But through time and just kind of attrition, I realized, okay, I specifically need this type of imagery. So I'm very specific of what I'm looking for. And it's all about hunting for that. So last summer I was in Salt Lake City in Utah, and I went to a bookstore, and I found stacks of these vintage postcards of old hotels from California, Florida, Texas. And so that built a whole new series in the last few months of Postcards of Paradise series. And so that's kind of how it evolves. Now, without travel, I have to say, without the art fairs down there, I'm missing it. Because I'm like, okay, it's part of my creative process. So okay, I got to find another way of that serendipity. Right.
Yeah. Well, I love the idea too that you have a general concept of what you want to do, and yet there's that really unpredictable factor of what postcard art are you going to find, and
Yeah.
what is it going to be, and how does that postcard fit with other postcards that might create sort of a cohesive kind of idea.
Yeah.
Like I think I'm always one of those people too. I always kind of when we do creative adventures too, it's kind of really to embrace serendipity and kind of leave yourself open to see
Yeah.
what's going to happen and where that can take you.
Yeah. I think as creative people, so a big part of being creative is this subconscious space where we're just not conscious of what's directing us and what we're focusing upon. And that can be whether subject matter, color, technique, that kind of thing. We see stuff, we see color, we're in different environments, and it comes through in a really unintentional way. And the trick, I think, as veterans, is to let that go, is just to flow
Yeah.
through, stand it.
Trust the process to a certain degree, right?
Yeah. That being said, if
Yeah.
everything starts turning out the same color with me, I get worried because I just like, okay, we can't have it all low. Like everything is, so we need to get rid of yellow. Look at blue.
Yeah.
So it's scary because color has emotional impacts upon people, and because we're trying to create effective work, all that plays a part in that. So I do let that go, and then afterwards I'll look at it and go, yeah, okay, next series we're going a little bit darker, less pastel, that kind of thing, and that's where you can relate, right?
Yeah. Well, it's funny because for me too, like for me, a lot of it is about the actual process of doing the piece, which is for me the art process, almost more than the actual end product. And so I do the same thing where I'm like, well, I do a lot of blue. I'm probably best known for my turquoise ones, turquoisey blue, like the ocean. And so every once in a while, it's like, okay, I need to do something different. And sometimes that comes from a commission, like someone wants black or something. And sometimes it comes from I'm not that comfortable with red, so I feel like I need to work on red. But
Right.
invariably, I have such a connection to, I think, to water and the sea, and so I naturally always gravitate back towards the blue. Like it seems to be that's my kind of go-to
Yeah. So
when I'm
yellow.
producing.
Yeah, yellow is my thing. So it's all the time. I
Oh,
have to.
I love yellow. I love working with yellow, but it
Yeah.
is so hard to sell yellow. People don't like yellow.
If you play with it, working with gray and yellow is great. Like that sets it off. It's almost like a
Yeah,
blue kind of break, right?
yeah.
But it is yeah. You have to kind of really consider when it lands everywhere. Like, okay, what's going on? So yeah,
Yeah. Well, it's funny too because I do track kind of the colors that I sell just from an interest point of view, and I
yeah,
every once in a while I do yellow because I'm just like I just love it, and yellow or bright orange or something. And it's interesting that it's one of those colors that I think for mine when I do yellow, there's a lot of yellow, right? And
yeah,
it's one of those things that seems to be people have this really adverse relationship with yellow. And even when I do commissions, they'll say, I love all of your work, but no yellow, right? Which honestly, if the piece needs yellow, I put yellow in anyway. But that's the single most color that people seem to have this adverse relationship with.
And what about pink?
I have a lot of
Do you
people
have?
that like pink. Yeah.
Okay.
Especially the deep pink. They don't always want the bubblegum pink, but like the deep magenta, the magenta orange combination. And
Yeah.
I'll often say to people, because I have this zero risk commission policy, that I hear what you're saying, that you don't like yellow, but if I really feel the piece needs yellow, then I'm going to put yellow in.
Yeah.
You know, if you hate it, that's fine. You don't have to take it, but it needs it, right? I think I'm losing you. So I don't know if it's your end or my end, because I'm actually outside. Are you back? Hmm.
Yeah. It's probably my end. So me.
Yeah, I can now.
Okay. So the tech with me.
And I'm kind of losing you again. Can't hear you. Is it worth trying to call back in?
No. Yeah. Let's try. Shall we try that?
Sure, may as well. Okay,
Okay.
I'll cancel you out.
Okay.
Okay, sorry about that, guys. It's I know I think sometimes too many people doing Zoom calls at the same time creates some issues sometimes. But we're gonna wait for Marjolyn to come back. Oh, cool! I just made a quilted yellow toothbrush. Oh, that is so cool. That would be so fun. I have a yellow. My outside of my house is painted yellow, so I really love yellow. All right, so thank you so much for everyone for joining us, and that's very cool. Yellow toothbrush. I like using yellow too. Yeah, it's an interesting color, and I'm not sure why. You know, blue is so strong because it represents kind of, I think, sea and water. Even though I think the color blue actually, even in ancient times, didn't exist as a name for a color, and yet yellow being kind of flowers and everything, I'm just surprised that it's got this such a strange relationship. Okay, so it looks like Marjolyn's going to come back in again, and hopefully we will have. Hopefully we'll be able to get her. Hope it's not my end. Anyway, while we're waiting for her, just wanted to let you know that next week we've got Jenny Lynn James, who's going to be joining us for in Talking to Artists. And sorry, I don't know if I have to do something else. Yellow is my favorite underpainting color. Yeah, I like that too. I don't actually do with underpaintings, but I know my sister often will do undercolors in yellows or oranges. Hi, welcome back.
Okay, we'll try again.
So I just one other thing I wanted to say is kind of because I was thinking about your collages and stuff, and I came across recently my grandmother was an artist, and she was a painter, but she also did a lot of fashion design in the 60s, you know, where you had those like, you know, great huge dresses and the cigarette holders, and
Okay.
I have a few of her sketches, and I always thought, oh, that would be kind of a cool way to, I don't know, incorporate like a family history. Do you ever do commissions that are family based?
Oh yeah.
Memory art?
Yeah, I just did a series for a woman. She has 3 sisters, so there's 4 sisters in the family. And I did a small piece for each sister. She described to me what the sister was like, and then she wanted to highlight her mom. So she sent pictures of her mom from 1950s and 60s. So each sister had an image of her mom, and then each image had a quote she selected, which would be relevant to that sister. And
cool.
then yeah, it was actually really great. And so it was kind of a
And so what happens if she does? What happens if they don't like it? Oh, sorry.
What I do is so there's a dialogue back and forth. I will come back with ideas of what I think it should be. Then she will then put input into it. I'll do the image. Usually what I present down, if they don't like it, they have 2 opportunities to put feedback in. And then if they don't like it, that 50% can be credited to anything else in my inventory. But I never have that. It's a collaboration, and it's very clear what I do. She then wanted to have a larger piece that was a celebration of her parents. So she didn't have really any act. Hello, do you see me?
Hi, yeah, here it just seems to be kind of spinning. Technology is great till it's not.
Yeah, tech thing. It's driving me crazy.
Yeah, you know, with mine, I was finding my Wi-Fi was getting in the way with my digital, so I turned my Wi-Fi off, and that seemed to help. But
so I did the parents, and then it was much more iconic of the dance of the sisters and the parents, and yeah. So commissions are a fantastic idea. Yeah, they work really, really well.
And so do those images, do they now belong to you, and you could actually do prints and sell them, or do people feel that that's their personal information and therefore it stays with them?
Every time you do a commission, they own copyright. You can't do anything that, or even reproduce them in another painting. They own the copyright.
Right, because it's because they're their images, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's fine.
Okay, so talking about your, yeah, I know, I love commissions too. They push you, right, into doing things and thinking things differently. So you're talking about, obviously your inspiration comes a lot of times from your travel, and I know that normally you would be probably in the U.S. doing you do a lot of outdoor shows in the U.S., right? That's probably, I think, the bulk of where your business comes from, does it?
Yeah. Yeah.
And so what are you doing to kind of shift that?
I'm reaching out to different galleries and seeing if I can get some more representation. And we'll wait.
Oh, we're losing Marjolyn again.
So,
Oh, so frustrating. I can't hear you. I don't know if it's
Again,
me or if
yeah.
it's,
So
maybe someone can tell me.
so I'm reaching out to different galleries to get representation for while COVID happened. Do you hear me now? Yeah, this tech thing is in.
Yeah.
So it's just a distribution in different ways. So create different kind of arts.
And you sell a lot of your work online. So you've already, and for a while, had a pretty robust store, right? So I've got people coming to.
So heighten up the non-digital marketing. So event in September and then build for that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I do. So this weekend, Toronto Outdoor Art Fair runs tomorrow, but I have another art fair that's gone virtual in State College. I have my work that's selling already. So that's, it's just kind of a bounceable. That seems
Yeah.
to be the trend.
Well,
Our art walk thing goes through at the end of September. So I'm ready for that.
oh, I really hope it does too. I'm just dying for some personal kind of connection. I had it was actually funny because I did a commission call with this woman from Cincinnati yesterday.
Yeah.
And so we decided to do an Instagram video call just so that she could kind of share with me some of the stuff she liked and stuff like that. So she's driving in her car. Her daughter's driving, so she's in the car and you see the wind blowing in her hair. And then she's like, heading into the Target as we're having this conversation. And I'm just like, holy cow, that so would not have happened, even a couple of months ago. And it's definitely a different way of doing business where there's a lot of more faith on both sides, I guess.
Taking that initiative, right?
Yeah. And it wouldn't have been so accepting of the risk too, I think. Okay, I think you're back again. I don't know. Can someone tell me whether or not can you hear Marjolyn and just not me, or me and not Marjolyn, or are you hearing both of us fine? Because I'm having a hard time with Marjolyn's feed. I don't know if it's her or if it's me. David, maybe you just joined us. Maybe you can just kind of tell me what you're hearing. That'd be helpful. I don't know. It's so frustrating because it sort of breaks the conversation. We had so much cool stuff to talk about. Bits and pieces, Jane's saying. So Gail can hear me. Hi, David. Trouble with Marjolyn's feed, not yours. Okay, yeah, that's what I thought. So that's really unfortunate because I'm hoping we can kind of get her back, but I appreciate it's kind of frustrating. Oh, she's put her glasses on now. She's serious. Can't hear you. Marjolyn, are you near your modem? Can't hear anything you're saying. Oh my God, it's so frustrating. Tell Marjolyn to turn off her Wi-Fi. Okay, so it looks like we lost Marjolyn for a little bit, and hopefully she's going to turn off her Wi-Fi. This is so frustrating. I'm really sorry, but thank you for your patience. So I guess one of the things that she mentioned, which I thought I would maybe talk a little bit more about, is that we're still hoping that Art Walk in the Square will happen in Toronto as an in-person event. We're working with Cadillac Fairview to kind of ensure that there is the opportunity to do social distancing and make sure the artists are safe and customers are safe, but provide an opportunity maybe to start to see art in real life again, because that's a hard thing to do. And I know that I've been doing kind of video conferences of showing people the paintings and taking them outside so you can see them in the sun, but it's not quite the same as being able to look at it in your own house. So we're hoping that will happen. And the same thing with North Toronto. A group of artists is also looking at doing a studio tour at the second week of September, which for people who have been part of that group before know that normally we're in kind of local, people come to the studios, which will not be happening quite like that, but it'll be probably setting up a tent in our front yards and then seeing what's going to happen from there. So I hopefully we'll see you there. So I don't know if we're going to get Marjolyn back. What I will do is put on my Instagram links to her digital art courses that she's done, because they are really amazing. And I think that the ability to go back and be able to kind of review it and stuff is really valuable. And what I'm up to these days is just trying to finish off a couple of commissions that have been sitting around not sitting around, but as you know, I've had some issues and my personal life, which has kind of delayed my being in the studio. But working on getting those done and actually heading out to Mountain Galleries in Stratford tomorrow. So pretty excited to get that body of work in their hands now that Stratford's starting to open. So if you happen to be in that area, then certainly I hope you can go and check it out. Other than that, I'm going to say goodbye and just say that we're super excited that we're going to have Jenny Lynn James next week on Thursday at 11 o'clock, so hopefully you can join us. She is a very multifaceted artist. She's a writer, she's a serial entrepreneur, so I'm sure we'll have lots to talk about since that's kind of what I like to do as well. She's lived all over the world. Her inspiration comes from all over the world, and so I think that will be super cool. And I did really want to thank Marjolyn for being part of the Talking to Artists, and we may need to have her on again when we kind of all figure out our Wi-Fi issues, because that's been frustrating. But anyway, hope you have a great day. Hope you stay cool. Hope you're in your studios or online looking at art. If you are an art collector, I really encourage you to reach out to artists, kind of support local if you can. It's a tough time for everybody, artists included. It's always a challenge to sell something that's so personal and so visual and has such impact online and digitally. But anyway, thank you so much for joining and have a fabulous day. Okay, bye.